Hey, muy buenos dias to everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. Bueno, mi gente, before I start off, please allow me to thank you guys again for your guys' word, wishes, prayers, and your great support. You know, on a personal note, when you're sitting in the hospital, like this time it was for over a week, and I got really bad, and so you start questioning the what ifs or everything that happened to you in your life. But of course, I now address my higher power, which in my case is, Jesus, and it brings ease. But you guys' support, man, it really brings strength. And for that, I'm forever grateful for you guys. I'm still not 100%, but I had already done this recording a while back for you guys. I just never got around to putting it together to send it to you. So I'm doing so right now as I'm getting into new ones as I've been promising a lot of you guys, which I am now that I'm confined to being home. I can't. I'm literally useless when it comes to walking and stuff because of my thrombosis in my heart. So I want to try to touch in. I also wanted to ask you guys if you guys know how I could go live to connect better with you guys. Please do send me a message to do so. Con esto dicho, I'm gonna get into the story on hand. Gracias de nuevo from the corazón, and I hope everybody's blessed always. Now, to get into the story on hand, this is gonna be my personal experience with Rudy Crazy from SD, and most of all, the two camaradas that I had the pleasure of at one time wiggling with down in Mexico, which is, you know, Demonio and Frankie from Escondido Diablos. But allow me to start off, I'm gonna take you back. I remember it was the first time I hit Tehachapi Shoe. It was in the beginning of the 2000s. Uh, there was quite a few. There was quite a few vatos there that at one time were pilis, because of those that know, that the SD car, they brought in a lot of carnales that were youngsters. I'm not really sure if it was 19 or 20 something, but they brought quite a few at one time. It was Sherm, Silent, Cheeks, all them. They basically blessed a whole bunch of young bucks trying to recruit new blood. But out of all of them, the only one that stayed solid was Chino from Eastside San Diego. He was the only one that stayed solid. He kept it active. Everyone else, once they got a soleta, they ended up checking in. And at this time is when they actually closed the books per se. So, anyways, without getting off track, at this time there was a camarada that was in everybody's boca in good terms, which mainly from the camaradas from San Diego, which was crazy, crazy boy. He was active, he was doing things for the SD card, and at this moment I'm speaking of Widow Sherm, Silent George, Carlos, all them. They had a lot of canales, and he was keeping it. He was being a campolero when it came to as a sureño and representing. He was doing his thing, and so I had from a sureño to another sureño. It was real cool to actually get to meet someone that was in in everybody's boca in good terms. You don't really hear it a lot when you're in the system. You're either in good terms with somebody, then you turn around and you're in bad terms with the next man. So this was my first crossing with a homie. At this time it was a homie, and afterwards, time passed by, and I actually happened to meet Demonio. We were in car shoe, me and Demonio, and at this time he was telling me that I guess the camarada got put up to be blessed, and at first it was a shocker, because I remember the SD Ramfla, they had closed their books to bless anybody due to you could say mistakes they did with blessing a whole bunch of youngsters that ended up checking in once the rope was around their neck. And but anyways, within time, I ended up hitting Pelican Bay, and sure enough, the crazy was there, but now he was a Billy, and he was one of those that I'll be sincere with you guys. He had me fooled, because he spoke a good one, he spoke like real high power with a lot of clecha, and he was real respectful, and which he was, I'm assuming that's from a camarada to being a fresh made Billy and everything. He was still down to earth, or he wanted good things, It's just, as I mentioned in my backstories, it's just majority rules, You can want a lot of things, but once you're up there, or even close up there, if you go against, it's your butt. There's no butt to rib, so they have to go with the flow, or get ready for what's coming next, which is your downfall. To be sincere, there's very few Baileys that actually stood for a long time doing their own. But anyways, without getting off guard, as I was up there again, we conversated, and he actually told me that he was aware that I had a familia down here, and he would love to open up that avenue, And he told me he was already in the mix with Silent and Weather Sherm and him. They were trying to open up a, a pipeline down with Nacho Coronel, down in Jalisco, but for the Sinaloa cartel, and it was working out. It's just he wanted uh he wanted different material, cause Nacho Coronel, he had it, but his stronghold was you know crystal methamphetamines. That's his stronghold. He was known as the king of methamphetamine in Mexico. So he that was what he liked moving. It's just easier money to him. Anyways, so he sent Little Demon and Frankie down, and he established that with Nacho Coronel. And so I told him that when I came down here, I would gladly come to assist him in any way, if I could. So to be sincere, 100 with you guys, at this time, it was like something that wasn't in my mind. I wasn't promising to come down here. If I come down to Mexico, I promise to assist in any way possible. If not, then we'll see what we could work. Because he wanted action to other things, like pills, chiva, and different things, coke, and anyways, like I said, I didn't have any thoughts of hitting Mexico. My thoughts were hitting the streets and keep rolling on the streets, off Cali. But as you guys know my story, it didn't turn out that way. I ended up coming to Mexico and just, well, you guys have heard my story. I don't want to get into it again. But anyways, I eventually, when I
when I actually hit Mexico, it was years after this conversation with him in Pelican Bay. So when I came down, it was a really a big surprise, when they told me that Little Demon and Frankie were still in Guanatos in Zapopan, to be more specific, And at first, it was a little bit odd to me, because I asked around, like, hey, who's in touch with the camaradas, and they were like, nah, nah, we know they're there, but we ain't in touch. I was like, what? And I told them, aren't they still working with so and so? And they were like, nah, they're with Jalisco now. And this is when I first got here, and I had heard, about the four letters, but I had not actually seen them. I heard of them like Matacetas. I didn't know really they had started a whole cartel per se. Mainly because my movies have always been with the Sinaloas. So anyway, time passed by and I actually got in touch with Crazy, and I got that address to meet up, and I did. I went out there and met up with Demon and Frankie, and you know, one thing I gotta say is that even though Nacho Coronelli got killed and betrayed, whatever you want to say, Crazy and his crew, man, till this day they're solid, solid in Mexico. They have a lot of power, man. Little Demon and Frankie, they have a whole squad of sicarios, and they distribute. They're not only getting things across that linea, to please the carnales, the pilis. They're wiggling in Mexico. They're supporting the patrones in Mexico, so they got action to all that. By the time I hit Mexico and met up with them, Jalisco had already came in, and they had action to everything, not just crystal meth, but they had action to todo, whatever they wanted. They had it in hand, especially because they were supporting like I said, they had a whole hit squad, that orders came down, they come down and they would execute, the camaradas. They're solid, they're really strong in Mexico. I'll just leave it at that without glorifying what they're doing, because I don't, and I will get into that right now. But they basically expand from Zapopan, Omega. They go down all the way to Manteca and Vallarta. They're all in that area. It's all like a line, behind through the cerros and stuff. They're taking care of all that for the cuatro letras, and at the same time they're sending up to Crazy. But within time, like I said, from being a firme camarada, from being a mellow headed Billy at first, then it just power overran his mind, and just like it usually does to all the Billys. So for those young vatos that are out there, don't ever think that they're gonna stay solid to you, cause they're not. At the end game is always them, them. You know, this came from at one time a homo Billy to one that didn't want to mess with no other Billy in Mexico. He wanted to do his thing, and he could. He opened up that door, and he was there. But what I didn't like about him, to be sincere, the one thing that I was like, man, ahí va, you know, la misma historia from one to the next, man, they're the same. Greed gets them, and next thing you know, it's just about them, and F what you do for me, F how far back we go, everywhere we come from, it's just like Sureños were throwaways. Dispense and I include myself. I have to because I was a throwaway too, you could say that, right? But anyway, what happened, like I said, Frankie, not just Frankie, man, his mom, his dad, they had that bodega in TJ, you know. For those that know what I'm talking about, you guys know. And they had those Ubers too, you know. And it was all for, at one time it was crazy and cheeks and what a sherm. And within due time it was, excuse me, it was crazy because he ended up, hitting power and next thing you know he could stand on his own, right? He would just break a little bit off here and there where he needed it to go, but what happened is, here in Mexico is the way the military works. Let me give you guys a little example, when there's a capo or a boss in Mexico, they when there's too many reports, like people complaining or that they are saying, hey, they're making too much noise. There's their names being mentioned too much. What they do is tell you, to get the dogs off your back, you got to give us somebody. You got to give us one of the big fishes, though, so his capture will mean something, and you're able to go underwater, and will take heat off you. It's how Mexico works. That's why all the time you see capos turning in other capos or first sicarios. It's just how Mexico works. It's a betrayal game. Snitching, turning in thing. It's just Mexico. So, anyways, without losing track, and one time, it was crazy because Frankie and Demonio, they only listened directly to him. They moved this stuff and whatever came straight from Crazy's mesa or himself. That's what they actioned on. So, anyways, they sent Frankie to Tijuana to one of the bodegas, and it was already set. It was already set, and they hit the bodegas, but the out, the out goal was to kill Frankie. And Frankie's, like I said, he had his whole family, Jefita, father, everybody doing things for Crazy. So when I heard this, I was like, man, there went that Torica we once had, in the shoe where, you know, camaradas overall, we have to stay solid and we have to stay loyal to one another because those were his exact words. It was, he had a lot of game when it came to what a camarada should be, or how a camarada should behave. And it just goes to show that power within time, all that goes out the window because, like, I don't know if I said, but Demonio and Frankie, they were from Escondido Diablos, they were from the same barrio that Crazy was from, which at the end of the game, at the end of the day, excuse me, that didn't have no meaning for Crazy. It is why I always come on here and tell everybody, stay loyal to those that love you, man, not to those that say they do, because from the teeth out, anybody could say anything. But it's just I just thought I would share this story, about Crazy. My personal experience with him, to be sincere, was a good one. As a camarada and as a Billy when he first got made, it was a cool one. But throughout the years, all that faded away as it does to everyone. Now I'm not gonna say he's one of those scandalous person. He has scandalous tendencies, and as him and other Billy say, tienes que ser un camaleón, you know. You have to blend in. He has a crew out in Mexico. He has to let the crew blend in with Mexican style, which if everybody really sits down and thinks about it, it goes against every rules and regulation as a sureño, you know. We don't snitch. Si bajas bandera y dejas ahogarse a uno solo, that should be your butt. You know, what can you say when an individual's turning in his own, you know, to stay out and float? Does he have power out here? Hell yeah, till day. Like I say, he has a whole ruta from Zapopan all the way to PB. And it's him, you know, no buts raised, you know. He has a whole group of sicarios that are called Los Diablos, so. But, you know, at the end of the day, is it worth it? As I always say, nah, you know. For those young camaradas thinking there's anything in that, man. There ain't, you know. Don't be fooled by what we're raised to think is something glorious, you know, because there ain't nothing to be glorified about or to be proud of. There's just nothing in that, man. I mean, look, there's a lot of authors from SD that are with demonio right now that has sacrificed a lot, and how many of them is crazy gonna be sacrificing to stay out on floor because it's Mexico, you know. It can't be just one, you know. It has to be a constant thing. So, you know, I really thought that Frankie and Demonio they were like carnales too, like they were like brothers. They came down and opened up the pipeline for crazy, you know. But at the end of the day, you know, when someone had to go, Demonio decided to turn in Flanky. So it's a scandalous game. I'll just leave it at that. You know, there's no winning, there's no loyalty. So for those that are out there, man, be smart. You know, just be smart. You know, wise up and really see things of what they are. But anyways, mi gente, I just thought I would share this little story about the Billy crazy. You know, I didn't have no bad experience with him, but this one that, and I personally knew Frankie's jefita and his jefe, and so you know that's how I got the notice. You know, it came from his jefita that told me, hey, you know what? They send him up here and so and so and so from their own crew try to take his life. But did you find out who ordered this? It came down from local. You know, crazy. They had to turn somebody in, and it had to be somebody that was in the mix, and they decided to turn in Flanky. Now his jefita and his jefito and whoever was there with Frankie, they have to be out and hiding. They're not even I'm not gonna say scared, but they're cautious to even go back to their hometown, San Diego. You know, so it just comes to show there's no winning in it. But anyways, mi gente, I hope I've been wanting to say this story. I've been feeling like, oh, you guys know what I'm trying to say. And just yesterday, Sunday, I had one of those terrible loss, one of the biggest loss that I have felt. Man, it just I don't even know what to think. You know, it's just man. But anyway, without getting into any I hope I made sense in my story of where I'm trying to put out there to you guys. I send my love to everyone. Please stay true to yourself and loyal to your family, to your loved ones. Gracias for your time.